Phenomera is a camera on wheels, and it's unique in every way. It's custom built for chemical photography processing, where you can sit inside and see the image appear, demonstrating image phenomena coming through a pinhole. You can do workshops on light and dark, so you can experience the total darkness inside the camera obscura. It has running water and electricity, and it turns into an exhibition unit. So all these things are integrated in one space. It is primarily for educational workshops for schools, colleges, universities, homeschooling groups, fairs and corporate events. We run workshops that are flexible. They're particularly suited for curriculum enhancement in all the key stages and tailored to the needs of the organisations. The idea developed from being a professional photographer, and by teaching I discovered that using normal SLR cameras impeded some form of understanding. I noticed that students were struggling with the relationship between how the image occurred and them taking the pictures. I found myself taking them through a process of imagining what was happening in the camera. And then quite quickly I realized, actually I don't need to get them to imagine it, we can do it. So I showed them what it was like to make a hole in the darkroom window. And the beauty of it is that you can be inside the camera and learn what actually is happening when you're looking at the image coming from the pinhole. So from that point, we realized that if we made a pinhole camera, everything will be more exciting. It was more understandable to everybody because it is so simple and it's working with phenomena. And I realized that phenomena is really what counts. There's a process that is embodied in the physics of photography that is really, really valuable for an educational process because it brings you deeply into the beginnings of things. Like as if I use clay, it's not to take it from a bag, but to give the students a chance to find whereabouts clay is deposited and dig it up and use it and process it. So the raw material for me in photography is the light and the dark. That in itself has a transformative element. You can start off using any sort of discarded material that can shut out light to make a camera. And you can go from that point into making a really, really craft-made camera as well, which has a huge amount of accuracy and skill. So you are very much engaged in every aspect of developing and bringing about an image. The Phenomera was developed to take to organisations with the least impact on the people I visit. To start thinking about how you can go to various different organisations was to have something which is all-inclusive. The mobility enables us to travel up and down the country for various different client groups. Usually I would deliver the workshops on my own, but if there's larger groups, I have other members of staff who can join us, and we're all DBS checked. By and large, we are completely self-sufficient. We provide all the materials for each workshop. The only thing we generally need is electricity and water and a space to work. The work with young people in the ages of secondary education is particularly valuable because they don't generally have an integrated curriculum. This gives them a chance to explore one subject, which actually is many at the same time. And teachers wish they could teach in that way. So coming in and doing this, they know that their students are getting a very connected way of learning. And they can link up with what I do and their science and their art. The largeness of the subject then becomes more tangible. And so it's a reciprocal situation of the students are learning and I'm learning. And that keeps you very interested in what you do. And I'm really keen that it encourages questioning, because question is what it's all about really. Continuously wanting to find out more. And they're making discoveries for themselves. So it's all about not me saying what the discoveries are, but actually giving them the opportunity to discover their own set of discoveries. There's no pixels, there's nothing other than the extraordinary miracle that reducing an aperture to create an image. How does that work? And that's a wonderful question. I also do some work with teachers, continual professional development, so looking at cross-curricular nature of curriculum, and we look at how to integrate subjects, connecting subjects. So whereas with these workshops as photography, in actual fact, it's looking at the phenomena of light, dark, image, and even personal development. We can then look at how did perspective come about? How did the early artists use this facility in order to become more proficient at painting, drawing? So I do a whole area on representation, which comes under the art history. It's a way of looking at the difference between subject-orientated teaching And when you work with a subject which is connected to other subjects, students then see connections themselves, and they always find an entry point. And that's one of the really important values of the workshops we do. Everyone can find an entry point. Even if they don't think it's interesting at the beginning, they always will. And I think that's what education could be emphasising more, how you develop questions out of what you teach, and not so much the answers. It's a very lateral process. It can't be linear. We start off with a practical activity without giving much information, and before long they're asking questions and becoming involved. So the main thing to start off with is observing the image, and then that can be turned into a camera so you can photograph what is outside, and then you can process. After they've made their cameras, they experience what it's like to be in a camera by being in the Phenomera, and then we start learning how to work with their cameras that they've made. And that very quickly becomes a very infectious way of learning. And they're asking all the questions about what's happening, how does the light work, how does the image appear, and why is it upside down. All these are very important experiences for young people to experience in an embodied way. So they really experience themselves, not through theory. There's lots of unexpectedness in working this way. Nothing's a given. You can work scientifically, you can work creatively, and you can work practically. Because it's an unpredictable outcome, the person who is involved has to start realizing that to capture an image, you are becoming the pinhole camera, the light meter, the viewfinder, and then you have to also be the timer. So you're becoming far more connected with the immediate environment. You can touch the substances that you're doing. You're not just leaving it to software. It is a metaphor for broader thinking, creative integration.
It makes a wonderful difference to use an analog technique rather than the digital technique. It's not so instantaneous, it's far more planned, and it's a great learning process for the children. It was magical watching it develop. It was lovely going through the process to have a tangible material to work with rather than have a digital throwaway. I think it's far more valuable to have something that is more permanent, more precious.
It's really magical because you just see the print. You don't know what's going to happen because it's not like a normal camera where you can assess each picture and delete them. It's just all to chance. I've got a 3-year-old daughter. We took the picture and then we watched it come through. It was a really valuable experience for her because she gets to experience it from beginning to end, whereas normally we take pictures with our phones now and it's not such a visceral experience. Just to go back to using paper and stuff, everything's just on your phone, and so digital photography is great, but I think there's something about seeing it develop and then holding it afterwards and knowing that you've done it. And we did it with just a bit of a cardboard box, basically. We've got something to take home now and look at and talk about an object, and it's really special.
So the phenomena really is something which creates a question which isn't able to be answered very easily. In a way, it comes down to painting with light. So it's light design. You're in touch with something different. And when you experience it, it's like a sort of recognition of something really truthful, something really wonderful. I don't like to use the word magic, but in actual fact, there's that element that brushes over you when you have that experience, and it lifts people's spirits.